Most people will make the biggest financial decision of their entire life based on one sentence they heard from their parents. Renting is just throwing money away. And that one sentence could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Stay with me, because the math on this is going to completely change how you think about housing forever. Here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody in the real estate industry wants you to know. Buying a home is not always the smarter financial move. In fact, depending on where you live and how long you stay, renting could actually leave you significantly wealthier in the long run. But here's the twist. Sometimes buying absolutely destroys renting. The answer is not one size fits all. And that is exactly why most people get this decision so dangerously wrong. Let us start by dismantling the biggest myth in personal finance. When you pay rent, yes, you are paying someone else. But when you pay a mortgage, most people assume every dollar is building their wealth. Wrong. In the early years of a standard 30-year mortgage, the overwhelming majority of your monthly payment goes straight to interest. On a $400,000 loan, you could easily be handing the bank over $2,000 a month in pure interest alone, money you will never see again. Sound familiar? That is exactly what everyone calls throwing money away. And yet nobody seems to mention that part. But wait, because the hidden costs do not stop there. Beyond interest, homeowners carry a financial burden that renters simply never think about. Property taxes, homeowners insurance, maintenance, and repairs can easily add 1 to 2% of the home value per year. On a $500,000 home, that is potentially $5,000 to $10,000 annually just to keep the lights on and the roof intact. A burst pipe, a failing HVAC system, a roof replacement. These are not hypotheticals. They are guarantees over time. Renters call their landlord. Homeowners call their wallet. And here is where it gets really interesting. There is something called the break-even horizon, and it is the most important number almost nobody calculates before buying. When you purchase a home, you pay closing costs up front, typically 2 to 5% of the purchase price. On a $400,000 home, that is $8,000 to $20,000 gone on day one. For buying to make financial sense over renting, your home needs to appreciate enough to cover those upfront costs, the ongoing ownership expenses, and beat what a renter could have earned by investing that same down payment in the stock market. Historically, the stock market has returned around 7 to 10% annually after inflation. Home appreciation historically averages around 3 to 4%. Those numbers should make you stop and think very carefully. So, does renting always win? Absolutely not. And here's where the story flips. If you stay in a home long enough, typically somewhere between 5 and 10 years depending on your market, the math starts shifting dramatically in favor of buying. Your mortgage payment stays fixed while rents keep climbing. You build equity as the loan balance shrinks. And in high-demand markets, appreciation can significantly outpace the historical average. There are people who bought homes 15 years ago in the right cities, who have seen their net worth explode in ways no stock portfolio could have matched. The key variable is always time. And speaking of time, there is one more factor that changes everything. Your personal life situation is arguably the most powerful variable in this entire equation. If there is any reasonable chance you move within 3 to 5 years, buying is almost certainly the wrong financial move. Transaction costs on both ends of a real estate deal can eat 5 to 10% of the home value. That is a massive hole to climb out of in a short window. Renting gives you mobility, flexibility, and the ability to chase income opportunities without being anchored to a single zip code. In today's economy, where remote work has reshuffled where people live and how they earn, flexibility has real financial value that almost no calculator accounts for. Which brings us to the one calculation you absolutely must run before making any decision. The price-to-rent ratio is your new best friend. Take the purchase price of a home and divide it by the annual rent for a comparable property. If that number is below 15, buying is generally considered favorable. If it is above 20, renting often makes more financial sense. In many major cities right now, that ratio sits between 25 and 40, meaning the market is telling you with pure math that renting and investing the difference is likely the smarter play. This single number can save you from a decision that takes years to recover from. And once you understand this, you will never look at housing the same way again. Here's the real takeaway from all of this. The renting versus buying debate is not actually about renting or buying at all. It is about understanding your numbers, your timeline, your market, and your life goals. The person who rents strategically and invests aggressively can absolutely outperform the homeowner over a lifetime. And the person who buys smart, stays put, and builds equity in a growing market can build generational wealth that investing alone never could. There's no universal right answer, only the right answer for your specific situation right now. The dangerous mistake is letting cultural pressure, family expectations, or an oversimplified slogan make a $500,000 decision for you. So before you sign anything, before you put in an offer, before you convince yourself you are finally ready, run the actual math. Calculate your local price to rent ratio. Estimate how long you will realistically stay. Factor in every single cost of ownership beyond just the mortgage payment. And ask yourself honestly whether that down payment might work harder for you somewhere else. The numbers do not lie, even when the conventional wisdom does. If this broke down something you always thought you knew, smash that like button and subscribe, because next week we are getting into how to actually invest the difference if you do choose to rent, and the results will genuinely surprise you.